All right, you have to memorize. This one's very simple. The sum of the roots is negative b over a, which in this case, that's an a, is negative 1 over a, which is 12. So there's your sum of the roots. Sum equals negative 1 over 12. The product of the roots is c over a. In this case, the c is negative 6 over a, which is 12. So the product is equal to negative 1/2. There's your two answers. Moving on. Nothing else on this page. Going to page 11. Okay. So in order to solve this, you can raise this side 27 to this, and this side do 27 to this. This 27 and log 27 cancel each other out. You get 2x minus 1 equals 27 to the 4/3 power. Now you can either put that in your calculator, or you can use your brain for more than growing beautiful hair. Clearly that's what I'm doing. The denominator is a cube root. So the cube root of 27 is 3 times, or raised to the 4th power. So 3 raised to the 4th power is 81. So really just put in your calculator, I'll give you 81. Add the 1 over, I get 2x equals 82. Divide by 2, and I get x equals 41. There's your answer. Moving on. Already on page 12. All right, this is just one of those permutation questions. There are 10 different letters, so we're going to do 10 factorial divided by all the repeaters. So 1, 2, 3 s's, 3 factorial, times 1, 2, 3 t's, 3 factorial, times 1, 2 i's, 2 factorial. So I bust out the calculator. I'm going to do control division. 10. Oops. It's not there. It is. Is it here? Yeah, here it is. Factorial over 3 factorial times 3 factorial times 2 factorial, and we get 50,400. So 50,400. Done. Next problem. Express the product end of this in simplest radical form. Well, I think you should have this memorized. This product of the cosine of 30 is the square root of 3 over 2. The sine of 45 is the square root of 2 over 2. If I multiply those, I get the square root of 6 over 4. Done. Alright, so I'll do this problem like this. 5 cosecant theta equals 8. Or cosecant theta equals 8 over 5. Or cosecant is really 1 over sine theta equals 8 over 5. Well, I can just take the reciprocal of both of these sides. So really what I get is sine theta over 1, which is just sine theta, is equal to 5/8. Which means I'm going to do the inverse trig function, or the inverse sine of 5/8. So theta is equal to sine negative 1 of 5/8. Show all of your work. So I'll come over to my calculator. I'll do the inverse sine of 5 divided by 8. And I get 38.6822. 38.6822. There we go again. It's not going to let me freaking write on here again. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, this said you have to round to the nearest degree, so the answer is 38.68. That would be 39 degrees. But you got to come back in and says solve algebraically the measure of the obtuse angle that will work. Remember, this is the angle in the first quadrant. Sine can also equal 5/8 in the second quadrant. So you have to take 180 and subtract off 39, and you get 141 degrees. So 141 degrees, and again, I cannot write on here for some doggone reason. Oh, now I can. Oh, and it's going to stay. So this gives me theta equals 39 degrees, but that's not obtuse. So what you have to take is take 180, you got to subtract off 39, and you get 141 degrees, and that would be your answer. Page 14. All right, this isn't bad. So we're going to do g of 10 is equal to 10a square roots of 1 minus 10 squared. We'll take care of the squared later. This is 10a times the square root of -9 squared, which is equal to the square root of this. So this is really, let me get back to my red pen. This is really 3i. So what I have here is 30i squared. Oh, don't have squared yet. 30ia squared. 30 squared is 900. I squared is I squared. And a squared is a squared. But that's not good enough. It says in simplest form. I squared is -1. So really what I have here is -900 a squared. And that's the final answer for that question. These are some of my most favorite questions. You're just simply taking things and you're converting them. So cotangent of x times sine of x all over secant of x. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert these all to fractions. So this is really cosine of x over sine of x times sine of x over 1 all over 1 over cosine of x. Well, clearly these cancel. So I'm left with cosine of x over 1 divided by 1 over cosine of x. But when you divide, you're really flipping and multiplying. So we're really going to take this, flip it, and multiply by it. Cosine of x over 1. So I end up with cosine squared x. And we are done with that problem. So Abby, who is this stellar, amazing student, decided to randomly guess on 7 questions, each of which has 4 choices, each of which has equally high or equal same probability. And we want to figure out what's the probability that she gets exactly 3 questions correct. So we're going to do 7, choose. How many questions is she answering? We want to get exactly 3 correct. So this 3 represents the number that we want correct. Well, if there's 4 probable choices, that's a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. The 3 goes here. This also means that you have a 3 in 4 chance of getting it wrong. And so if she's going to get 3 right, that means she's going to get 4 wrong. And that's what I want to put in my calculator. So I'm going to go into menu, probability, combinations, 7, 3, parentheses times parentheses. And I can do 1/4, but I'm going to do 0.25. Same thing. Raised to the third. Careful to get out of the exponent mode right here. Parentheses 0.75 raised to the fourth power. And this should give me 0.1730. I'm not going to use that. So this is equal to 0.173035. So it wants it rounded to the thousandths place, which is 3 decimals, 0.173. There it is, kids. Done. That problem's over with. Moving on up. 17. Now we get 4-point questions. Okay. These aren't bad. Simplest radical form means you are not going to be able to factor this. You're going to either have to use the quadratic formula or completing the square. So, first things first. Common denominator is x. I'll multiply everything through by x. So, I get 13 equals 10x minus x squared. Never do you want to have your x squared to be negative or your highest x to be negative. So, I'm going to move everything to this side. X squared minus 10x plus 13 equals 0. Now, because this has a 1 out front and an even b term, I could use completing the square. So I'm going to do that over here. I'm going to complete the square over here. So my first step is to bring the 13x, or the 13, over to the other side and rewrite this with 2 boxes. I'm going to take half the middle term and square it, but I'm going to put that half in a perfect, or a binomial squared, because we're creating a perfect square trinomial. So the half of 10, or negative 10 in this case, is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. So I'm almost done. This is equal to 12. In order to complete solving this, I have to take the square root of both sides. And you remember, when you take the square root, you have to put a plus or minus. So I get x minus 5 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 12, which I'm going to write as 4 times 3. Because what is the square root of 4? 2. And it's said in simplest radical form. So my answer becomes x is equal to, when I move the 5 over, 5 plus or minus 2 radical 3. So that's doing it by completing the square. I can also use the quadratic formula, which says x is equal to negative b over 2a plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You remember the quadratic formula. So a equals 1, b equals negative 10, and c equals 13. And I make my kids find the discriminant, which is b squared, which is 100, minus 4 times 1 times 13. Let's see. 13 times 2 is 26, times 2 is 52, so this would be 48. 100 minus 52 is 48. So, I'm almost done now. X equals negative b is positive 10 over 2 times 1 plus or minus. Now the square root of 48, I'm going to already start to simplify because the 48 goes in here. But I'm going to write it as 16 times 3 because that's almost simplified already. And then 2 times 1. Square root of 16 is 4. This 2 cancels with this 4 and makes this 2. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and I'm left with x equals 5 plus or minus 2 radical 3. And either way, you arrive at the same solution. Moving on. Page 18, problem 37. We're almost to the end here, kids. A ranch in Australian outback is shaped like a triangle ace. Well, mate, I don't even know. Wait, how do British people talk? I just lost my British accent. I can't even do British accent. And I say British because they speak like with a British accent in Australia. You know, mate, go down to Australia. Yeah, have some shrimp on the barbie. Uh-huh. So let's see. AC is 15. Angle A is 42. Angle E is 103. So we're going to use the formula area is equal to 1/2 AB sine C. In order to do so, what I really need to find is this side. And I'm going to use the law of sines to do that. So sine of 103 over 15 is equal to the sine of 35 over x. Whoa, 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 whoa. Where did 35 come from for Krause? I don't even know. 102 plus 40, 103 plus 42 is 145. 180 minus 145 is 35. So this angle up here must be 35. Okay. Cross multiply. I get x times sine 103 equals 15 times sine 35. Divide by sine 103. And I get x equals, I think you should take my word for it, 8.2996. A real hard time writing numbers. Okay, 996. 8.8.82996. Okay, so now I have this side. So now I have all that I need in order to use my formula, which I'm going to do in green and small. So area equals 1/2 the product of the two sides that I have there, 8.299. Oh, I did it again. I forgot the 8. I don't know why I keep forgetting that 8. 8.82996 times the sine of the angle between them, in this case 42. And if I do that, I get, and I could put this in my calculator, I get 44.313. So my area is equal to 44 square miles. I think we got two left, 38 and 39. Okay, children. We're going to need to use our calculator for this one. So I'm going to be looking back at my sheet over here while I... Oh, no, I can do it right here. I think I can. Okay. Bring up my calculator. Okay, so in order to do this... perfect. We're going to go back to the home screen and we're going to go spreadsheet. And this is only one set of data, so I can just start typing these in. 29, enter. 28, enter. 39, enter. Don't make a dumb mistake. 37, enter. 45, enter. 41, enter. 40, enter. Okay, I screwed up something. 38, enter. 37, enter. And 48. All right, so I have 10, but I screwed something up. So let me make sure. 29, 28, 39, 37, 45, and then for some reason I went 41, but I did pick up that I missed the 40, 38, 37, and 48. And then we want to click on Menu, Statistics, and we're only doing stat calculations. We're doing one variable statistics. We want to figure out what the average is, the mean, and we want to figure out what the standard deviation is. And my list is in A, so that's fine. It's only got a frequency of 1, and that's fine as well. So I have found that my X bar is 38.2. So my X bar equals 38.2. And my standard deviation, which is R, not S, that's the sample standard deviation. We've got a population, which is 5.8 or 5.9. So if I want to go one standard deviation out from 38, I'm going to go down 5.9. And I want to go up 5.9. So I'll take my calculator and I'll figure out, I'm going to calculator, what is 38 minus 5, 38.2 minus 5.9, and I get 32.3. So the lower end is 32.3. And my upper end is going to be 44.1. So how many scores are within one population? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all the ones that are in between these things. That's really from 33 to 44. 33 to 44, 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 33 to 44. So that looks to me like there are 6 scores that are within one standard deviation. Now the next question says, what is the interquartile range? Interquartile range is quartile 3 minus quartile 1. So go back to your calculator. Go back to... let's do this. Go back in here. Got to go back to where you were working. And quartile 1 is 41 and 37. So 41 and 37, or 4. Last problem. We are on the last problem, and it's an easy one. Last problem. And it is not a difficult question. So here we go. You guys ready? First things first, we're going to move that 16 over. So you get x to the 4th. Hate that big fat pen. Plus 4x cubed plus 4x squared plus 16x. I'm going to factor by grouping. Oh, equals 0, because we're solving this, right? It says solve, right? Solve means I'm going to come up with answers. It doesn't say just factor. Well, this had to be one of the easiest last problems. I'm going to take out an x cubed. I'm left with x plus 4. Here, I'm going to take out a... Yeah, that's why. First things first, kids. You should take out the GCF. The GCF is x. And I'm going to be left with x cubed plus 4x squared plus 4x plus 16 equals 0. Now I'm going to finish by factoring and take out an x squared here, and I'm left with x plus 4 plus 4. So I'm grouping these two, take something out, group these two, take something out, x plus 4 equals 0. Almost done. My answers are going to be x. My first set of parentheses are these ones, x plus 4. My second set is these two, x squared plus 4. It's these two put together to give you this parenthesis equals 0. Not quite done. I've got a number of different answers. Let me do these in green or blue, because the last answer, blue. X equals 0 is an answer. X equals negative 4 is an answer. Those are your two real solutions. Now you're going to have actually a couple of imaginary solutions, because, let me show you this. You're going to do x squared minus 4, plus 4 equals 0. You're going to subtract 4 from both sides, so you get x squared equals negative 4. You take the square root, and you got to remember, when you take the square root, you got to remember to put a plus or minus. And x is equal to plus or minus 2. And there's your last two solutions. And that is it for June 2013 Algebra 2 Trigonometry Regents Final. I hope you all enjoyed it. There will be plenty more. If you want one that you like, just let me know.